science and studies have already shown that when families stay together, when two parents stay together, the odds of their kids going out committing crimes go down, which reduces incarceration rate. It also shows that their kids are more likely to be more productive, contributing members of society with a stable home. So why can't we incentivize the nuclear families to stay together? So give them benchmarks. You married for 5, 10, 15 years. Now you're giving them tax advantages to really promote healthy, strong marriages. Now I know some people will try to game the system, but they're already doing it. But let's start promoting that. So those are like my main things that I think we can do, man. And I'm telling you, we about to change. Like we about to change the game, bro. I'm about to be the freshest governor the world has ever seen. Y'all. Mark my word.
This episode of the Coleon Noir podcast is brought to you by Vetter Holsters. Welcome to another episode of the Coleon Noir podcast. Me, Ryan Tillman.
My dog.
With Breaking Barriers.
Yes, sir.
What's going on, man?
Man, nothing, man. Your setup is sick, bro.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man. I've been
absolutely.
a huge fan for a long time.
Thanks, man.
And, man, you're killing it. And the reason you're killing it, bro, because you're educating people. And so it's just an honor to be here.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I mean, so in all fairness, we kind of like, made up that kind of intro, honestly, because we were already talking off camera, but you were talking about some really good stuff, so I wanted to get it on camera because I thought people need to hear this. So just off the bat, we'll just jump into the political fray a little bit. Okay. So you have plans to run for governor of California.
Yes, sir.
Right? And so we were talking about how you were deciding to run and why.
Yeah. So I guess that's a great place to start. So yes, I am planning on running for governor of California. It's funny, I went to the GOP convention about 2 months ago. And when I was there, people are like, when I tell people that I'm running for governor, people are looking at me like I got crap on my face. And I was like kind of taken aback, like kind of mad, like, bro, like, how you gonna tell me I can't do what so, but as I've been going through the process, I see why people may have reacted that way. And it's more so simply because there's a lot of people that want to run for governor. And I think that's a great thing. I think it's an honorable thing. I think people are tired of sitting on the sidelines and want to get involved. But what people don't realize is that I've actually, for the last 10 years of my life, been unconventionally campaigning for this, not even realizing it.
Okay. How so?
So a little bit about, in order to know that, we have to go backwards for a second. Okay. So growing up, I grew up in Rialto, California, went to college, played football there, Division I level. Got out of college, and my goal was to go start a Fortune 500 company. That was my goal. My wife gets pregnant. We're newly married. I'm like, man, like I'm selling insurance, life insurance, and I'm assistant at Abercrombie and Fitch. So I'm like, this ain't gonna pay the bills, dog. Like, wifey about to have me on the couch. So my dad's best friend was a police officer, and he was like, Ryan, you should be a police officer. And I was like, man, heck no, I ain't working for the man. I'm not gonna be a sellout. And culturally, and with some of the limited interactions I had with law enforcement, that's kind of where that was all shaped. Yeah. So I was like, there's no way I'm gonna do this. Well, fast forward about 2 years later, I pray about what God wanted me to do. And the doors to my life just flew open with law enforcement. So I get in the door, I go to the academy, had no aspirations of doing this, but I'm doing really well in the academy. I finished number 2 overall in my class. Damn. Like, it was just coming, like, for me, it was common sense.
Gotcha, yeah.
I was like, man, this job is common sense. Learn how to talk to people, make good decisions, and you're good. Yeah. So I excel. Then I get out of the academy, and then I start my field training program, and I still was like, man, I don't know if this is what I want to do, because I was like, every time I pull somebody over, I was like, man, I feel like I'm messing with them. Like, if I was pulling you over, I'm like, man, like, I don't even want to mess with this dude today, but hey, sir, license registration, please. That's how I felt. So I was like, I don't know if I like this. And it was because I was doing it how the trainers told me to do it.
All right. So I've got to give a quick shout out to Vetter Holsters. They're now sponsoring the podcast. I've been using their light tuck Kydex inside the waistband holster, and what I really like is how adjustable it is. You can tweak the ride height and cant to get it exactly how you want. Plus, they've got holsters for over 450 gun models in 75 different colors, so you can pretty much find whatever you need. But here's the thing that really sets them apart: their customer service. I've heard so many stories about how they've gone above and beyond to make sure you're happy with your holster. And with a lifetime warranty and a 30-day money-back guarantee, it's clear they stand behind their products. If you're in the market for a great holster, check them out at betterholsters.com.
So when I got off of training, I was like, oh man, like I could actually do this job how I want to do it. And I don't have to do it the way everybody else does it. Okay. So that's kind of what set the foundation of my law enforcement career. But that was right around the time that Michael Brown was killed in Ferguson. Yeah. And I remember the feeling that I had of being a black guy in law enforcement and thinking like, man, like everybody in my community thinks I'm a sellout. Yeah. But then now, since I'm on the other side of it, I understand the what, the why, and the how of the profession. And that's a lot of information that most people don't understand. So I was like, I need to go out there and be this bridge. I got to be able to bridge these two sides together. Because if I'm going to do this, I don't want everybody thinking I'm a sellout and a Uncle Tom for the rest of my life. Yeah. And at the same time, I want my partners to understand, like, why is there this distrust? So I started this organization, Breaking Barriers United, and the sole purpose of that was to bridge that gap. And we did that by educating. So very similar to yourself, I start educating people through social media, doing breakdowns on videos, explaining to people what they're seeing and whether it was legitimate or not legitimate. I start speaking in schools. I started speaking to organizations. And as critical incidents start coming up, George Floyd, so forth and so, my phone was ringing off the hook. I had Dak Prescott, organization I start working with, Michael Strahan, all these different people. And I start realizing, like, man, like, people are coming to me because I am that guy that's in the middle, and I'm going to tell you one way or another whether you like it or you don't. And so I say all that to say, for the last 10 years of my life, I've had to learn to be a problem solver in the capacity of a public safety officer. I've had to learn to meet people where they're at, whether it be as homeless people on the streets. I've had to learn to go into organizations and try to resolve conflict. And I've learned that through crisis negotiation. But then I've also been able to build a business for myself. When we were talking offline, like the stresses of an entrepreneur, managing, but the great part about being an entrepreneur. So a lot of these candidates that are saying, oh, I want to run for governor, it's all great, but I've been low-key preparing for this, and I've built a reputation for myself. That's the other part of it. I've built a major reputation for myself. So I said, I've been low-key preparing for this and never even realized it. So why not?
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting you pointed out, because I relate to a lot of that. Especially having the kind of almost serving as a bridge, conduit to two different sides who have two different perspectives. Some, in many ways, justified on both ends. Yeah. You know, like I remember when I was when I did my video on Philando Castile, right? I got ripped to shreds by a lot of people because they were like, you got that wrong. And then I remember I did the video on Kyle Rittenhouse breaking that down.
Which I mentioned you, by the way. Yeah. I was like, man, a phenomenal breakdown on Kyle Rittenhouse.
Appreciate you did a phenomenal breakdown on that. Thanks, man. Yeah, and it was just, and then the weird thing is, and just to speak plainly, when I did Philando Castile, a lot of white people were mad at me. When I did Kyle Rittenhouse, a lot of black people were mad at me. And the one consistency that I learned with each of those people, the groups who were mad at me, they didn't have the facts.
They didn't.
They didn't have the facts.
And when you don't have facts, it will lead you down a place, and you just start feeling some type of way based on your emotion. Yeah. And emotions are they're a great thing, but they're a very dangerous thing. And that's why I respect people like you, because, man, you're doing it.
Yeah, no, emotions very much like fire. Right? Yes. You can contain it, harness it in the right way. It's phenomenal. Yeah. You let it spread wild.
Well, let me ask you this, because I want to ask you. I mean, I'm over here like I want to ask you, like, as a black man and growing up, you know, like, what was it like culturally, and where did you get like your ability to start kind of be impartial about things? Because in our community, bro, like, it is not easy to be impartial. And if you start thinking another way, you almost are like kind of backlash, or what's the word for it? You know,
ostracized. Like, So what was interesting was it's crazy. Like, my background is incredibly diverse, but incredibly segregated in sections. And what I mean by that is this: like, from like high school on through undergrad, incredibly diverse. I went to one of the most diverse universities in the country, which is U of H.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So incredibly diverse there. Then I went to law school at an extremely white law school for a period of time. And then I left there and finished off at a different law school, which was the blackest law school of all times. And then even growing up, my friends and everything was always multicultural. It's always been multicultural. White friends, black friends. Friends.
Oh, you can't say it? Okay.
But at the same time, I was still black, right?
Yeah.
So I remember when I started doing what I was doing with the NRA, I got a lot of pushback from people that look like me, because it's like Uncle Tom, sellout, all of those things, right? I think a lot of what drove it was my experience conflicted with what everybody was telling me how I was supposed to be perceiving things. So before I got into guns, my thought process was, I'm gonna go out here. Like, I started going to shooting competitions and things like that, and like, I'm about to be out here in the middle of the woods with these rednecks and all these white people with guns. Like, what are you doing?
That was your perception.
Yeah, right. And like, they're gonna run you back. You know, they're gonna, you know, do the craziest things. You think of the craziest things you could possibly think of. But I was like, I'm gonna do it anyway because I had such a passion for firearms, right? And I still wanted to learn, and it was my only avenue to do it. I was so wrong. It was wrong. It was just wrong. And so my reality, I started, you know, I learned at that point, and that's why I talk about the gun the way I talk about it, and that the way it's changed my life, not in the way that most people think.
Yeah.
It served as the catalyst to get me outside of a comfort zone, right?
Yep.
To understand what my reality really looked like.
Yes.
And so I go out there, I'm around these people who I'm supposed to believe hate me or don't like me, don't want me anywhere around, and I'm getting nothing but love, right?
Bro, you bringing up something so critical, because I've been talking about this forever, bro. Like, the gun serves as the vehicle to open up your mind to everything else. And, you know, I'm gonna go back to politics for a second. I grew up in a very Democratic home, and then I go to college, start meeting different people. I get into a job that's way more Republican. Yeah. And then as I start developing my relationship with Christ a little bit more, my perceptions of things changed even more. Yeah. And so I started switching the person that I was. And so in doing so, I'm leaving one sector, going to another sector. But then now people are looking at you like you're different. It's like, well, is that wrong? Is it wrong to be different? And then on top of that, I start meeting people on the other side, the enemy, the hostile side, that were like very friendly, like letting me into their personal spaces at the highest levels, and that are connected to some of the most powerful people in the world that look like me, that have a much different experience than everybody. And so when when people on the one side says, hey, look, they're this, they're racist, they're this, they're that, and then I go on the other side and they're like, man, they're embracing me and so forth and so on. It's like, it's hard for me to have that same reality now because I've seen the other side. And I'm not trying to say the other side is perfect, because
no, by no stretch of the imagination, right?
No stretch.
The same way the other side is.
They have their exactly, and that's why I've kind of found like I'm this person in the middle, and it's almost. I think the majority of Americans probably want to be there, but we become almost forced.
Yeah, I think a lot of it stems from nobody's willing to meet the people where they are. Yeah. Right. And I think a lot of it, that's what a politician's supposed to do. You go meet the people where they are. Right. And then you can develop that empathy that a lot of people don't, because you don't go meet them. See, I was forced because of a passion I developed to go meet those white racist people where they are. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. And in doing so, was confronted with a different reality versus what my perceptions were. Yeah. And so not many people do that. Yeah. And I think if more people did that, then we'd have a different country. However, that's a tall order, right? It's a very tall order. Yeah. So you do need conduits. You need people who can go back and forth, who have that experience like you've had to do. Yeah. And to be able to communicate those things. And that's what I try to do a lot of times through video, especially when you have these controversial types of things. Like when we are talking about a Philando Castile, when we are talking about Kyle Rittenhouse, things of those, because there's a perception about what people think because they've already had theirs. So it's like, well, young black dude, of course he's going to say that that particular shooting was absolutely wrong, right? And it was like, not entirely, right? Yeah. And then the same thing with Kyle Rittenhouse, like, oh, this young black, he's definitely going to say that Kyle Rittenhouse was this racist white kid who went out and shot a bunch of black people. I was like, well, I mean, he didn't really shoot any black people. Yeah, so
and when you look at the law versus what you're seeing, it's completely different things. And that's what law enforcement exposed me to is like, okay, you see the use of force, but let's look at it through the lens of the law and how the law works, and then we'll understand whether or not whether it's justified or not. Same thing, I don't know if you saw the video recently, is the guy that killed the police officer after his son was killed. Yeah, you have all these people reacting emotionally.
And no facts.
Zero facts. Yeah. There were people that thought that the dad wouldn't kill the same guy officer.
And it was a totally different officer.
Yeah. And not to say that it would have justified it. Or just justified it. Edit that out, y'all. Governors can't talk like that, y'all. No, keep it in. Y'all, I'm from the streets, y'all. But not that it would have justified it, but they're over here spreading all this information, and then the comments were sickening. I don't know if you were reading the comments like, "Oh, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. It's about time." It's like
he didn't even kill the cop that killed his son, and his son had a gun and was after running from stealing. So it's like, and you can tell when you read the comments, people who don't know that. Yeah, right. They don't know that, and that's the thing. And that's the God bless it. I love social media, but man, that is the curse. Yeah, it gives a lot of knowledge to people who don't know how to process knowledge sometimes, and what ends up happening is like I had the same thing happen with me. Like I keep reverting back to Philando Castile because it's never really open shut, right? I answered when I did the video. I did an open letter, and I wrote the open letter, and I did it through the lens of a lawyer, and then I did it through the lens of a black guy, right? And as a lawyer, I can see this. As a black guy, I can see this. When you put the two together, this is kind of what you get. Correct. You don't have the absolute right answer, but there is this thing called the law. Correct. Right? And whether or not the things were met and satisfied, which is why people go to law school to learn how to think in that manner, because otherwise everything would be emotion. Oh, 100%. Like it would just be emotion. 100%. I especially when we use force in law enforcement. Yeah. It's like I always tell people, use of force is not designed to look pretty. Yeah. you find one use of force, it looks pretty, like, man, that actually looks pretty good. You'll never find it, bro. It's the same, like we all live in the comforts of our own home and freedom, but you don't know the price that was paid in order to live in this freedom. And if you saw it, you probably wouldn't feel. I was at a panel discussion at Howard University about 3 weeks ago, and the question was asked, why are military soldiers or personnel, why are they looked at as being noble, whereas law enforcement officers are not looked at as being noble and honorable? And I said, it's one simple answer. You didn't see the things the prices that had to be paid in order for us to live in this freedom. Because if you saw the price that was paid in order for us to have the freedom, you probably wouldn't have the same notion that you have now. And not to say that what our military personnel did is wrong, but there's a lot of things that have to be done in order to maintain a level of peace. If people were on the street with me at 3 o'clock in the morning and saw the nonsense that our men and women in law enforcement are dealing with at night, the people that are all hyped up on drugs and this and that, and all the fights and useless forces that have to be taking place to keep that person out of your home, oh man, like you would be like, oh shoot, I didn't realize, but we live in this bubble. They can't. And so that's, like you said, it's a blessing and a curse. They need to bring back the show Cops.
Yes, but also I saw this documentary on cops where it was all staged by cops for recruitment and for like whatever. But yes, I do agree.
Man, that's why y'all need to watch On Patrol Live. I'm not on. So I was actually a co-host on On Patrol, a guest co-host on On Patrol Live. So On Patrol Live, you guys not watch it, it's phenomenal. Okay. On Patrol Live is where they follow police officers in real time. Okay. So it's not, there's no post-production editing or nothing like that. It's all real time. Okay. So it's great, but you're right. Yeah. It gives the viewers a sense of what it's like to be on patrol with a police officer. Yeah. But these things are so important for the world to see because it gives you new perspective. Yeah. Same thing I always say is like, imagine what the operating room would look like if doctors had to wear body cams. Like I think that's a great. Nobody would ever get an operation.
I've seen some videos, and the way that they like bash stuff like you're just a machine. I'm like, holy.
But I think what would really surprise people is how emotionless they are. And and not realizing they have to be that way.
Yeah, they have to. They have to. You can't go in there and like sit. They in there, turn on the music, turn on the DMX. Like, you know. But if we saw that, we would be like, what the heck is going on? Yeah. I always ask people, what's the third leading cause of death in the U.S.? It's medical malpractice. Yeah. But yet you still go to the doctor. Yeah. So the point is like we've been led to believe that policing is you're going to get killed by the next police officer that stops you. And it's just not true. So we have to, I understand the emotion. And this is why when we get back to me running for governor, this is why I believe I'm somebody that's different, is because I am a man of the people. I understand. Just because you may not like the police, I still have empathy for you. Yeah. I still understand where you come from. I've lived there. But we also, it's my job now to get you to a new place to say, hey, look, how can we find real common sense answers to navigate these problems together and be able to bring these two worlds together? Because if we stay divided, bro, like, we're doomed.
Pretty much. And it's kind of the gift and the curse of living in such a diverse country, right? If everybody was the same race, same look, same thought process, same everything, yeah, sure, things would be stable. But the beauty is that we are diverse, right? We have, the funny thing is that diversity also gives us our strength, which is why we are the country that we are.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
But it does come with it, its negatives, which is we don't always all see eye to eye on things because we have such different perspectives. We have different cultural backgrounds.
And that's okay.
Exactly. But the best way to combat the negatives that can come from that is to be able to have those conversations. That's it.
Do this. And I think that's why you're seeing a shift. We're seeing a shift is where politicians are unfortunately no longer viewed as being as credible as they once were.
Yeah.
So when people ask me the question, well, why are you running for governor? Yeah. Because I've proven that I can get people to follow me. I've proven that I can get people to believe in my leadership. Now, obviously I have my trolls, just like everybody has their trolls. But for the most part, when you develop a substantial following on social media, legitimate one, organic following, organic fan base, you're showing that people want to or are willing to be led by you. Whereas politicians nowadays, most politicians, they can't be taken serious.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's all politicians.
But it's a lot of them.
But a lot of politicians, because you've always been saying what they want you to say. Yeah. You've been doing things in your interest, not the people's interest.
They would literally negate you because you weren't political like.
Yes.
Right? That's the crazy thing.
Yes.
It's like they expect you to be
correct
and say things the exact same way. And I'm like, so y'all want to be lied to?
Yeah. You want people to tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah, pretty much.
And what politics was created, it was supposed to be for the people, by the people. And we forget about the second part, the by the people. Because somewhere down the line, we've elevated. Once you get, and we understand this, I've seen it, but when you get power, when you get money, it only heightens what you already were.
Yeah.
So if you were somebody that was selfish and this and that,
it's going to exacerbate that.
It's going to exasperate it. Yeah. So we just got to get back to having more dialogue. I wrote a book called Happy Eyes, Becoming All Things to All People. But the key component of that book is all about without compromising who you are.
Yeah.
And I think people feel like you have to compromise. You don't have to compromise. Like, you can have your own values, and that's okay. And that's, for me as a leader, I'm gonna say, hey, if you want to believe this, if this is your values, so be it. We live in the United States of America. Yep. That's the greatest part about it. The problem is when we try to enforce, the government tries to enforce what we believe you should think on everybody else.
Yep.
And so I'm not going to go in, when I become governor, I'm not going to go in there and say, hey, everybody needs to read this curriculum. No, that's for the parents to decide that in the home. That's for them to talk about. I'm not going to go and start taking everybody's right to bear arms away. Yeah. No, like the Constitution allows us to bear arms. What I will do is make sure that we're smart about it. As a police officer, I saw people that shouldn't have guns. Gotcha. But I always tell people, what do you, like, if a critical incident happens right now, who's the first person to get? Who's the first people going to get here? Is it going to be the Marines? Is it going to be the Army? Is it going to be the Air Force? Is it going to be the Navy SEALs? No, it's going to be the Dallas Police Department or Fort Worth, whoever goes. They'll be here in 7 minutes. And when they come, do you want them coming with the best equipment or the worst equipment?
So that's a good topic conversation, because a lot of people have really strong feelings about that. Like our police should not be armed like the military. I don't have a problem with that, as long as I can own the same shit. That's where I kind of have, because logically, it makes sense. If you're going to be dealing with this, if I can't in one breath make the argument for myself and say, I want this type of weaponry because the criminals have this type of weaponry, so I need to be able to have as good as what they have or better. And then turn to you, who are legitimately day-to-day dealing with the same criminal elements, who have the same weapons, and then say you can't have these weapons to them. But I think where most people, at least in the 2A side, where they have a problem with it is where we're not allowed to own the same things as citizens. And that's where it becomes problematic. Because I think they'll rip me to shreds in the comments if they think otherwise, but I believe that most people in the 2A community have no problems with our local law enforcement having the necessary tools to deal with crime. And as long as there isn't this lopsided access to it. in terms of, you know, like I want to be able to have the same things that law enforcement has. Now I understand there's some limitations, and to some degree what those are I don't even really know yet, because I'm on the extra side. I don't know where I would stop, because I'm like, give me a battering ram, give me a tank, a truck, all that shit. But so for me, that's kind of where I stand. And I know you probably deal with a lot of people who are like, y'all look like the military and you shouldn't look like the military. You shouldn't have any of that stuff.
You know, people get hung up on the looks instead of focusing on who's in the uniform. Here's a good example. We talk about school resource officers. When everybody, you know, in 2020, when we had this huge unrest about law enforcement in the community, one of the first things they tried to do was rip the school resource officers out of the schools, because they were saying the prison pipeline and this and that. And as a former school resource officer, I said, why are we so focused on the school resource officer when we should be focused on who is the school resource officer? Find the right person. And I know we've made mistakes in law enforcement where we are putting the wrong person in the schools. You don't put the officer who's on the back end of his career that just wants to go there and retire on duty. You don't put that guy there. You don't put the officer that's going there because he's in trouble on the streets and you put him amongst a bunch of kids. No, put the officers there that have a heart for kids and have a passion to move them forward and help elevate them and mentor them. You won't have these problems. So it's the same thing when we're talking about the conversation with guns, is be smart. I've never, ever arrested a person that I always tell this to people, when it comes to guns and I arrest people with guns, I've never taken a gun from a person who didn't own it lawfully, unless it was related to a mental illness or some domestic violence. So we have all these gun laws and we keep wanting more and more gun laws, but yet we still have the shootings and things that still happen. Well, why is that? Well, we have to realize is that the people that want to cause carnage to people, they're not getting these guns legally anyways, usually. Sometimes they have. And that's where we could be better at, as far as like, okay, who is owning and operating and getting access to guns? But it doesn't mean you remove the people's right to bear arms away from them. We just have to be better at screening and understanding who should have the guns and who shouldn't have the guns. But we're focusing more on the guns instead of the people. And it's just a reality. And like the gun, and people probably criticize me, but the gun isn't what is killing people. It's the person that's using the gun to kill people. And if a person has, if I had in my heart, if I was set in my mind of going out to hurt people today, and I didn't have access to guns, I would find a whole bunch of other things that I can use to cause carnage. So it all comes back to balance. We just have to find balance. And as a police officer, I know that guns are very dangerous. I've seen many people, unfortunately, die because of gun violence. But it doesn't necessarily mean all of our focus and attention should go to the guns itself. We should go to the people that possess the guns, how they got access to the guns, and, you know, how do we prevent, you know, criminals or people that shouldn't own guns? How do we prevent them from getting more guns in the future?
Gotcha. So I wanted to ask you this question. I ask this question a lot to anytime I speak with officer, former officer, whatnot. When it comes to dealing with the public and armed civilians, is there anything in your experience that you would want them to know about how to interact with a police officer? Because I understand it from both ways, right? I have a lot of friends who are cops, and I understand that when you're doing your job as an officer, you don't know who you're dealing with. Like you mentioned, the person. You don't know who the person really is. You just met them. And you know they have a gun on them. They just met you, and they know you have a gun on you. So from that perspective, I've always wanted to create some type of content that would provide a certain level, even if it's just this virtual empathy for both sides.
Bro, we should go and do a video in person.
I'm all for
together.
I'm all for it. Dope. Because I think it needs to happen. Because I think there's a lot of things, a lot of perspectives, a lot of people who carry guns don't know about the cops. And I don't mean this from you need to respect authority and anything like that. I'm talking about the fact that we want to create a symbiotic relationship between the people and local law enforcement.
Agreed.
Right? Because we interact with each other the most.
Agreed.
Federal government, we barely see those motherfuckers.
Exactly. So we got to live together.
Exactly. So, you know, that's just something that I always kind of like wanted to hash out and figure out a way to communicate that. You know what I mean? Like,
there's a video I just did a breakdown on. I don't know if you saw this. It was a guy, he said he was just, he's a shooting instructor, black guy. And he had guns, like he had a gun strapped on his chest.
I think I did see that.
He had a gun strapped on his chest, guns everywhere. He had a whole bunch of guns in the back. Dude was like, yeah, I even got one on my appendix, everything loaded up. The cops were super cool with him. Yeah. And it was just, I actually got 2.2 million views on the short on YouTube. It was crazy. It's always the videos you least expect.
Bro, me and Peter talk about that all.
Bro, it's the one you least expect.
The video you put your heart and soul into. Bro. Does nothing. The one you're like, I'll just toss that out there. Boom.
Bro,
like,
always happens. That's why I tell creators, like, just keep creating because you never know what's going to go viral. Yep. But I bring that video up because in that video, there was a lot of, there it is right there. Have you seen this video right here?
I saw it in passing.
Okay.
So I hadn't watched the whole thing. So I saw I was scrolling through it and I was like, what the hell's going on here? And my phone goes off 24/7. So I know I got distracted somewhere in there.
No, you're fine. So this dude is low. You can see him, bro. He got the strap right there. He got straps on the sides. But the way the cops handled it was awesome. This guy right here, he's what you call on the right side. He's what you would call your cover officer. So his job is just to basically just keep his eyes on him.
Yeah.
He's not even really supposed to say anything unless he picks up on a threat. Then you have the primary officer who you can't see. He's the one that's dialoguing with this guy.
Gotcha.
But the most valuable part about it is the way the primary officer is handling his stop is all in his voice. He is not up here. He's not drawing out, hey, you better not reach for that gun. If you do, I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to blow your head off. He's like, hey, man, why you got all these guns? What's going on? Like, keep your hands where I can see you. And then the thing that I love about the gentleman here is he's telling the officers where everything is at. Hey, license is here. I got this. I'm not going to reach for it until you tell me to. So to answer your question is there needs to be good communication. It needs to come from both ends. Yeah. So let's just say you and I are on a stop. I'm the police officer. You're the guy I'm pulling over. First thing I would do if I were you is roll all your windows down and keep your hands on the steering wheel. And then as that officer walks up, I'm the officer. I'm going to say, hey, how you doing? The reason I stopped you is whatever it may be, license, registration, please. From you, then I would say, hey, sir, no problem. I have my license and registration. But before I give you that, I want to let you know I have firearms in the vehicle. So you tell me what instructions you want me to do, and I'll go with wherever you need me to go. But just know I can show you all my credentials if you need to. Now it sets the tone for me where I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. Do me a favor, grab this, or I'm going to have you step out. I'm going to remove you away from those guns. We'll handle our business, and then I'll put you back in the car.
Gotcha.
But the most important component of it is not only the clear communication, but the tone of voice. Tone of voice is almost important because you can escalate it and de-escalate it just based on your tone of voice. And as the officer, I always teach this to officers. I'm like, look, you don't have to come up there all amped up. Keep your hands on that steering wheel, all this other stuff. Like, you can come low and slow, but in the back of your mind, have a plan if this dude wants to go sideways.
Gotcha.
You don't have to present both at the same time. And if you can do that, man, you'll have such a good dialogue with one another. It's okay that I come across people that have guns, and I've told people, or weapons, I say, hey, look, thank you for letting me know. Just keep your hands where I'm at. I'm going to wait for my partner to get here. When my partner gets here, I'm going to remove you from the vehicle and we'll handle business. And if you do those things, now it makes it easier for law enforcement to know who's not going with the program.
Gotcha.
Because if you're not going with the program, then that tells me, okay, this is not somebody who is doing things the way they should be. He's trying to conceal something. He's trying to hide something. And now it makes it easier for me to make a decision.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I kind of do something similar. I mean, pretty much the same. The only difference is once your lights come on, I've gone through this a lot because I speed. Once lights,
I do too, by the
way. All right. Lights go on immediately. I have my wallet. I have it set up where my concealed license, my carry license, and my ID are stacked.
Okay. Yeah.
And so immediate. So any movement I'm doing to get to it, I do before I pulled over.
Okay, good.
If that makes sense, right? And then if I can't get to it in time, if I immediately there's a shoulder for me to pull over, then I'll wait. But all the windows go down, generally speaking. And then when he walks up, he asks me a question, license, registration. So I just hand him the carry license and my license stacked together. And then
that's good. Only thing I would say about that, and just so you give you a perspective from the officer, is sometimes officers are picking up on movement too. I never forget.
I would tell you why they can't see me, then I'd be
Yeah, I got.
I'm gonna exercise my Fifth Amendment right.
I love that. Hey, no. We getting to the bottom of this right now. Let's go to the garage. But typically, if we can see in the vehicle, and so for those that are watching this, where they may not have. They're not exercising that Fifth Amendment.
I'm not saying that my tent is illegal. I'm just saying that sometimes it's hard to see.
We have stuffed animals and stuff in the back. Yeah.
For those that I can see, when I see movement, it's an indicator for me.
Gotcha.
This is a true story. So I was doing a stop, or I was working patrol, and I saw these guys coming opposite direction of me. So as soon as they didn't have a front license plate on, and so I flip one and get behind them, so they know, okay, I'm about to pull them over.
Yeah.
As soon as I get behind them, I see the guy in the back seat of the vehicle do like this and come back up.
Okay.
Very quick though.
Yeah.
Very subtly.
Yeah.
So that was like, okay, well, that was interesting. So then I walk up, I start doing a driver's side interview with them. There was 4 guys in the vehicle. I said, hey, how you guys doing today? The reason I stopped you, didn't have a license plate in your vehicle. Do you guys have any weapons or anything illegal in the car? And the guy it was just as fast as this. He was like, no. Very quick hesitation.
Yeah.
And he looked right.
Yeah.
So that's indicator number 2.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, cool. Anybody been arrested before in the car? Yeah, we have license. So I get their licenses. Now my indicators are going off. Typically, I would grab their stuff, go back to my vehicle, run them from my vehicle, and return.
Yeah.
But I had already had all these things going off where I'm like, I'm not leaving this driver's side window until my partner. So I had already called for a backing officer.
Okay.
And so my backup officer gets there. I said, hey, I found out that one of the guys had a warrant. So now I had a lawful reason to pull these guys out of the vehicle.
Yeah.
So we get there, we pull them out, and sure enough, underneath the back passenger seat was a loaded 9mm Glock. So those are things I picked up on. And so the reason I bring it up is because I'm scanning. Officers are scanning. If the officer's pretty good at what they do, they're looking at those things.
Yeah.
So just be aware. Just be aware. And that's why I say it always comes down to communication, because the officers don't know who they're stopping. And I always tell people, officers spend 95% of their time with 5% of the people that are doing the most, that are causing 95% of the problems. And over time, we start to view life through the lens of the 5% rather than the 95%. And it happens in the reverse.
Yeah.
The people in the community, they see 5% of the bad police officers on social media, and they start to view life through the lens of the 5% rather than 95% of the good officers that are patrolling our streets. So we got to be careful of not painting a broad brush over every interaction.
I couldn't have said it better myself,
man.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you, man, taking the time out to come speak with me today, man. Hey, you got my support as far as I'm concerned. Hey, you do your thing.
My guy, I appreciate that.
In all fairness, anything's better than New Scum. but no, I meant what I said though. No, I really
appreciate that. And just really briefly, for those of you guys that are watching this, if you guys live in California, and I always tell people, even if you don't live in California, you have a vested interest in having good leadership in California, whether people like it or not. California dictates a lot of what happens across our country, from our economy, from the laws that we pass, everything. So even though you may not live in California, it's still in your best interest to get the best leader in there. So for me, going into this position, before we wrap it up, my top priorities, number one is we got to bring the economy back. The California economy is like one of the 6th largest global economies in the world. It's crazy in the world, not just like for Friday, not just the city, but the world, Craig, like the world. You know what I'm saying? Like the world. So we got to bring our economy back because it helps everything else move. And so when gas is high, when groceries are high, we got to be able to fix that. And so if I was selfish, I would say public safety would be the number one issue. And I say selfish because I can do public safety with my eyes closed. I've been in it for so long. But it's not about me, it's about the people. So we got to be able to bring back our economy. We got to be able to make things cheaper for people. We got to bring back all the people that have fled to your state, all the people that have fled to Florida, all the people that fled to Tennessee. Hey, it's time to come back. When I get elected, it's time to come back.
Hey, listen to this guy.
We're going back to Cali. So you coming back to Cali. So we going to incentivize you guys to come back. to help rebuild that economy and to make California the thriving place that it was, then we talk about public safety. Because if you can start fixing the money problem, then you're going to start to see public safety start to fix itself because a lot of people start doing things because they don't have money. The third thing that we got to do is we have to start bringing back the power to our parents over their kids' education. I kind of alluded to it earlier, but the government shouldn't have an overstep in your child's education. You have the ability to teach and raise your kids how you want to raise them. We're just there as guides. You know, we should be there as guides. We're just a part of the village, but we shouldn't be pushing political agendas in the classroom. Fourth, we have to be able to be smart with our environment. And I'm not saying that in a green way. I'm saying that in a way of we should have water to put fires out. I have a friend of mine, his name is Gordon Graham, and he's an expert in risk management. He always talks about predictable is preventable. We should be able to predict that fires, the insurance companies predicted it, which is why they pulled out. So if we can predict these things, then we should be able to solve these problems. So we got to look at that system, look at our agriculture. And then the last thing, I have this really, really cool Family First initiative. And the Family First initiative is so cool because we incentivize right now people to go out there and get abortions. We incentivize people to go out there and get EBT and government assistance. Why can't we incentivize families to stay together? And the reason why that's so important, do you know on average, it costs about $104,000 per incarcerated individual in our criminal justice system, in our federal or in our state prison system. $104,000 per inmate.
That's crazy.
Science and studies have already shown that when families stay together, when two parents stay together, the odds of their kids going out and committing crimes go down, which reduces incarceration rate. It also shows that their kids are more likely to be more productive, contributing members of society with a stable home. So why can't we incentivize the nuclear families to stay together? So give them benchmarks. You marry for 5, 10, 15 years. Now you're giving them tax advantages to really promote healthy, strong marriages. Now I know some people will try to game the system, but they're already doing it. But let's start promoting that. So those are like my main things that I think we can do, man. And I'm telling you, we about to change. Like we about to change the game, bro. I'm about to be the freshest governor the world has ever seen. Y'all. Mark my word.
I used to love going to California. Now I'm kind of like, man. So I would love to be able to say I'm looking forward to going to California.
You going back to Cali, dog? You gonna play the song while you come back, bro? You can play Billy, you can play Biggie, you can play LL.
Just make sure.
You name it.
Just let me know which hat I can wear because y'all confusing out there.
Hey, Will, that's another. That's my 7th or 8th issue down the line. We'll get to that next time. But man, Colin, thanks so much, bro. Man, I really appreciate the work you're doing, bro. Like educating people, and I always tell people, especially when it comes to guns, I've never been a gun guy. Well, I don't take that back because now
I know what you mean when you say that.
But when I got into it, I was never a gun guy. But when you learn, when you take the novelty out of it, when you take the taboo out of it, and you just really learn how guns operate, you start to better not only yourself because you're protecting yourself, but it's just like, oh, okay, cool. Like it's not what I thought it was. And last thing I'm gonna share with you, I have a friend of mine. This dude was terrified of guns. Like this dude hit me at one time. I'm not gonna name him because I ain't gonna call him out like that. But when he's done really well for himself. He lives in really good areas. And when all the craziness was going on in LA areas, my man was talking to me about getting tasers and things. I'm like, that's cute. Like, that's cute. Like, that's cool, bro. So fast forward, like things kept going. I hadn't really talked to him. Next thing I know, I talked to this dude like a year or 2 years later. This dude got Desert Eagles. This dude got ARs. Like my man was like looking like John Wick on the range. I'm like, bro, we're like, and so and when I met up with him, he's like, yeah, I want to be safe still, because he's trying to, but I'm like, the reality is he start educating himself, and realizing that as long as you own guns in a safe manner, and
it's a non-starter. Like,
you got a safe right here. Like, do it in a smart, healthy way. I said balance. Everything just needs balance. That's it.
Yes, sir. Absolute pleasure, man.
My guy, man. Thanks again, bro. Appreciate you, man. This was awesome.
Yes, sir.